And I would also like to welcome one of our international Toastmasters from the Virtual Parliamentary Toastmasters Club in New York. So a wide welcome to her for coming today. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll hand over to the Toastmaster of the day, Jan Vecciho.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jim. And welcome. We do have people from District 69, 70, 90, all over the place. And who was it? Jenny from New York, over in the United States. Yeah, so welcome everybody to this meeting. And this is, I guess, the brainchild of Jim and maybe Con. I'm not too sure how it originated, but I must admit it was a kind of club that I had in mind at one stage to form as well. And when I got word from Jim that he was looking at a club for parliamentarians or to learn business meeting procedure, I jumped at the opportunity to come into this. So the purpose of this club, I guess the ideal will be to assist our Toastmasters in developing skills to conduct business meetings efficiently and effectively. And it is a specialist area, but it's an area which can benefit everyone. It's not just benefiting ourselves, it'll benefit our clubs, and it will be a benefit outside Toastmasters as well. And the reason we have policies and procedures for meetings is to fairly represent the interests of those who attend meetings and those who are not attending the meetings.
I was trying to find them.
So an effective meeting provides a forum for open discussion and delivers a tangible result. Reference to learning parliamentary procedure is in our club constitution in Article 1. And to help us carry out the mission of a Toastmasters club, the club shall, amongst other things, increase its individual members' knowledge of the rules of parliamentary procedure and their skills in conducting meetings and participating in group discussions. In my experience in Toastmasters, I would say this is an area that is overlooked by many clubs. Some clubs do it and some clubs do it well. Some clubs will have a little go at it who don't do it so well. So they could really benefit from some experience. And in this club, it's not about us knowing everything. It's about learning as we go along. We have a great agenda tonight with Con presenting table topics. We'll have Pam Holley presenting an educational. Colin McFarlane will take us through a business session. Then we'll have some general feedback from you, the audience, tonight. So first off is Con to present the table topics. And Con has been in Toastmasters for 7 years, and his interest in the club is to see members learn and grow. And experience with business meeting procedures is only from Toastmasters club meetings. So he's interested in learning parliamentary procedure, as we all are. So to lead our table topic session tonight, please welcome Con Papamitros. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Madam Toastmaster, ladies and gentlemen, I have selected 7 table topics this evening, and if I can allow the timekeeper, Jim, to time us for a period of 1 to 2 minutes, please, and I can begin the table topics. The first table topic is, you have been selected to meet with the Prime Minister to discuss current economic issues. What items will you add to the agenda? Alicia.
It is an honour, but also a huge responsibility when you get the opportunity to meet with one of the current leaders. When it comes to adding items to an agenda, I guess it always spawns from research and an understanding of what is the end game, what are you trying to achieve? If we look at the current state of affairs, one of the challenges that we have at the moment is the stimulus and the way in which, on the one hand, we have tried to support businesses and we have tried to support workers that are not able to go to work. But on the flip side, what are the potential challenges or the byproduct actually doing that. I run a labour hire agency, and we recently had an influx in demand in one of our warehouses, and it was a tremendous challenge to get employees to actually go to work because, as they nicely put it, I'm sitting at home at the moment receiving disaster payment. If I go on an on-call casual arrangement and I lose my payment, but then you no longer call me back, then I have to start the whole process again. And so I think it's a very dangerous situation when you have a country where someone has work offered to them, they have no income, but they say, no, you know what, the free money that I'm getting is actually suiting me just fine at the moment. So getting that balance right of supporting those that need it, but also encouraging those that have opportunities to work to do so is something that really should be at the forefront of our economy. And it's definitely something that, if given the chance, I would love to chat to our Prime Minister about. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Alicia. The second table topic is, if you could go back in time and talk to yourself at the age of 10, what advice would you give yourself? Austin.
Thank you, Con. It's fitting that you say that now because I've learned in recent years to go with the flow more and take more risks in life. So as a 10-year-old, some of my school subjects that I weren't confident in, I should have actually taken the risk and pushed myself to study more in those areas. Secondly, in the sporting arena, definitely would have considered more sporting options. As a 10-year-old, I was a competent footballer, but I should have branched out a little bit more, maybe in cricket, basketball, and to spread and diversify as a young person in as many areas as possible. Because I can see later on in life, those that have succeeded have a more fulfilling life because they have the ability as a young person to consider all options and not undertake too much, consider the risk of it, to enjoy things more. I think you have a more fulfilling life, a bigger group of friends, and a bigger understanding of what the options are later on in life. So in finalising my table topics tonight, and that's why I'm here at the parliamentary session, because I can see any skills that one can pick up can benefit you later in life. Back to you, Con.
Thank you, Austin. The next table topic is, if you had to wear a button with a maximum of 5 words, what would it be and why? Joan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master. Well, years gone by, we wore buttons all the time for one thing and another. I know that where I worked many years ago, we used to wear buttons that said things like "nothing's too hard," which was very difficult for us girls to wear. And so buttons were a little bit of a sore point for me going back to those days. But I think probably something that says, let's all have fun. I think anything that encourages people to enjoy themselves, to be involved with other people, interact, is the thing that I'd be going for. Because I think that this pandemic has sort of encouraged us to be loners. I mean, we have to be in lockdown, we have to be away from all our friends and our family. So therefore, you know, the fun factor has really gone out of everything. When you talk to people, they only want to talk about the things that they're missing, and it's sort of a sadness, isn't it? So I'd be putting out colourful buttons with "let's just have some fun," because that's what I'm looking forward to and hoping that we can all do that by Christmas. Come on, everyone, put on your buttons. Let's get some fun by Christmas. Back to you, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Joan. The next table topic is, during the pandemic, do you think it was better to save the economy, or was it better to save human lives? Mark.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master. Clearly, there's only one answer to that question, and that is to save life. It's critical as we move forward to understand how devastating this pandemic could have been for Australia. In an unvaccinated population, a vulnerable population, we would have seen thousands of deaths. Our health system in New South Wales is currently at its stretching point, and that is with just case numbers that are 1,000, 1,400 a day. If we had seen infection rates like we've seen in some of the other Western countries across the world, we would have been in big, big trouble. So whilst the economy is important, we have a strong economy that has been able to support both industry with its stimulus packages and relief packages, but we must bring and support lives until we're all vaccinated. Even then, when we're vaccinated, this isn't over. And so as we move forward, we must remember that in saving lives, we've been able to keep what is essentially a really devastating illness at bay. Unlike other countries, we've done a tremendous job. It's always a difficult balance, economy or life, but in this question, there is no doubt. Life is critical. Life is so important, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Mark. The next table topic is, some people say a little white lie is sometimes okay. What do you think? Bill. Please unmute yourself, Bill. If you can unmute yourself, please.
Table Topics Master. Sorry about that, I didn't realise. A little white lie sometimes can be okay, as long if it saves somebody else's feelings. I think perhaps it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't really condone lying as such, but to save somebody's feelings, to make somebody feel good or feel better about themselves, it may be okay. But to me, lying doesn't sit well. And I would like to think that I have told some little white lies in the past, but only to so that other people haven't been affected by a situation or whatever, and to make people feel good. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Bill. The next question is, what annually televised sporting event is an absolute must-see for you? Chris.
Well, look, I'll have to pass, Mr. Toastmaster. I've got a bit of noise going on in the background here.
Sorry, I didn't hear you.
I'll pass on the question. I have a bit of noise going on in the background here.
Okay, thank you. David, what annually televised sporting event is an absolute must-see for you? Can you hear me, David?
My apologies. I had to quickly come back because I was actually watching a rerun just before we had this meeting of the Bledisloe Cup. Well, hey, I'm from New Zealand, so that is a must. There is no other event that's more important in the world than the Bledisloe Cup. Now, obviously, I'm biased, but one of the things I do love is a little bit of friendly rivalry. It doesn't matter how many wins one team has on the board or the other, because you know there's going to be great rivalry, great camaraderie in some ways, because no matter what who won the last game, you know it's going to be all on for the next game. You're going to be cheering for your team. For me, I'm going to be biased. I'm going to see what I want to see. I understand all my Australian friends are going to see what they're going to see. We will always look for reasons why we're going to win. Home advantage. We won the last one. This player's in the team. We've got a new coach. It doesn't matter. Why? Because we're always going to look for what's in it for us, what we're hoping for. We're always going to look for where there's always hope. Doesn't matter whether you had the biggest loss last time, you haven't won in years, where the venue is, we're going to look for what we're looking for. Why? Because we want to support our team. We want to be loyal supporters. We want our teams to win. And it doesn't matter what it is, we're going to take it to the maximum. So I say the most important event is Bledisloe Cup, not because it's the Bledisloe Cup, it's because the team that I support. And I urge you, with whatever team that you support in any sport, give it 100%. Show them your loyalty, show them your support, because your team always needs fans. Thank you. Back to you, Topics Master.
Thank you, David. The next question is, what sound other than ringing would you want your telephone to make? What sound other than ringing would you want your telephone to make? Shirley.
The hills are alive with the sound of music. That's what I want my phone to ring because it reminds me of that movie which I love. I don't know how many times I've seen it. I know my brother has, when he was 7 years old, he has seen it. He saw it 7 times in that short period, the 2 months that the film was on. He saw it 7 times, but over the years, I have seen it maybe more or less 10 times. I have not seen it as much as he has done, because till today, it's my favorite film. I can watch it over and over again. And the songs in there, they're just beautiful. And the hills remind me, I'm living in the hills now, remind me of that, and that there's a certain ring to it. Although my telephone has got the natural ring, the traditional ring, ring, ring. But because it reminds me that I have to answer the phone. If I put on the sound of music ring, then I'll just be relaxed and lie down and forget that my phone is ringing. And that's why I don't have it on my phone. Otherwise, it would be my choice of ring for my phone. Thank you very much, Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Shirley. And the last question. What would you do if you arrived at the airport barely on time after dodging bad traffic and realised that you have forgotten your tickets at home? Jenny.
If I had forgotten my tickets at home, I would be caught in a big dilemma depending on where I had to be and who was expecting me at the other end. Since I don't have any Australian superpowers or American superpowers, I probably would just have to resort to my phone or computer, hoping that the airport had internet that I could then meet them online through the powers of Zoom or whatever teleconference, video conference software there could be, because obviously I can't fly there without my tickets unless I use my powers of persuasion with the counter and saying, hey, I left my tickets. Can I somehow get a e-call, will call version of them or to replace them? I do have my government ID, hopefully. Does that work? Assuming it's not an international airport. And so if I can't get one of those two options, at least I can meet them virtually in the short run and then schedule a long-term trip the next time to make sure I set my alarm, have a checklist, God knows what, have a buddy to remind me not to forget my tickets because they're either not replaceable or I just need to find a way to make this traveling process foolproof because this pandemic is making me rusty. I don't need to travel anywhere. I just sit on my tushy in this chair and I can go around the world to Australia, which is awesome. But it's also reinforcing some lazy habits where I'm forgetting to pack my suitcase with the needs I usually have because I don't need to fly. So if I forgot my tickets, that would be sort of my action plan of pray to the ticket counter that the powers of persuasion work for some alternative, that they're very forgiving. If they can't find some equivalent for me, that at least we have technology to thank that I can still meet with the appropriate person online in the short term to have that objective discussed. And then if that doesn't work, then I don't know, pray to the Toastmaster guards, pray to the airport guards to give me some inspiration as to what else I can do when I don't have my tickets. Because that would be not a pleasant surprise, but maybe there's some good Samaritan who somehow finds a way to give me a free ticket. And that hasn't been is not actually surprising. Every blue moon, it does happen, surprisingly. Somebody has an extra ticket or extra upgrade in line who says, hey, I can't use it. Why don't you do it? So let's see if luck helps the poor soul who's stranded at the airport. I don't see my timer, but I feel like I've gone over 2 Aussie minutes. So back to you, Mr. Topics Master.
Thank you, Jenny. And that completes my assignment, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Con. There were some interesting questions there, some curly questions, but nobody faltered one iota with their responses. So congratulations to all of those who spoke in the table topic session. There are no evaluations this evening, so you can sit back and relax. Our next speaker is Pam Holley, and Pam joined Redland Toastmasters in 2012. She's also a member of Indooroopilly Toastmasters and Hot Toastmasters, which is District 69's first online Toastmasters club, chartered in 2020. Pam says she's always avoided the money and minutes roles, but as an area director, she had to run council meetings and started to develop an interest in parliamentary procedure. So armed with a copy of Renton's and access to the Toastmasters international governing documents, she was appointed District 69 Parliamentarian in 2018-19, which was when online district council meetings were first introduced, and again the following year. In this session, Pam will be talking about district council credentials, because our districts are going to be holding our online council meetings very soon. I know District 69 is coming up this Sunday. The following weekend is District 90. And I think 2 weekends after that, we've got District 70, and all the districts will be doing it this month. So we need to know what's a quorum, who's entitled to vote, can you appoint a proxy, and there's a lot of grey areas. Let's welcome Pam to give us the answers and to educate us in this area. Thank you, Pam.
Thank you very much, Jan. I'm not sure that I'll have the answers. There might be more questions afterwards, but I'm sure somebody might be able to give us some extra advice. I'm going to do this using a PowerPoint presentation. So excuse me if I look over to the side, but that's going to be the way it is. Share that. Are you seeing a sheet that says district credentials? Good, you've got the right screen, not the one that suddenly popped up in front of me. There we go. First of all, I'm going to talk about a quorum. What is a quorum? It's fairly simple, and I'm sure most of you with an interest in parliamentary procedure will know that it really is the minimum number of members required to be present for a meeting in order to legally transact business. And that's not just in Toastmasters, that's anywhere. For a district council quorum, Toastmasters District Council, the quorum is 1/3 of the club presidents and vice presidents of education from the clubs in the district, or their proxies, and there are a few little bits to that. Really, the proxies are only eligible in face-to-face meetings. There are no proxies in online meetings. But just take note of the wording there, 1/3 of the club presidents and vice presidents education. For those, well, hopefully we will be going back to face-to-face meetings in the not too distant future. The proxy, either the club president or the vice president education of a club, can designate any member of their club, and only a member of their club, to be a proxy holder. It doesn't have to be an officer of their club. It can be any member who is attending the meeting. And that, as I said, is only for an in-person meeting. If either of those officers is not present, and they have, one of them is not present, and they haven't, the other one hasn't designated a proxy holder, anybody else, oh, sorry, step back. The one that is present, so if one is present and one isn't, the one that is there automatically gets that proxy, unless somebody else has been given that. So they can cast, that person can cast 2 votes at the meeting. I'll go on a bit more about the number of votes at the meeting. As I said earlier, online, no proxies whatsoever. Every member must be present in order to cast a vote. In order to find out who the actual district council members are, and this goes towards quorum and voting, there is actually a document that's come up in the last few years that's provided on District Central. So only the top 6 officers, I believe, in the district, the DAM, the district director, and well, you all know who the 6 are, they can access that. So if you are going to be a district parliamentarian at any stage, bear that in mind and ask them for it. It's a really handy document to have. In the old days, we had to get a list of all the officers, pull out the presidents, pull out the VPEs, and then find out who the area officers were, because the area officers, even though they don't count towards the quorum, do get a vote. So you have to know who's eligible and how many votes they can get. So the district council members are the presidents, the VPEs, and the district executive council members. Sorry, district executive committee, not council members. I can hear Colin shouting in the background. It's not a council, it's a committee. Anyway, a point that's always been something that I've wondered about is, when is the actual record date when you have to be eligible to be a voter? And this is actually for Toastmasters International. They have this in the governing documents, is that the record date is the 7th day before the date of the meeting. Now, I assume that if that applies to Toastmasters International, that should apply to districts as well. We often find with our district, especially May district council meetings, people haven't paid up and they suddenly pay up in that last week. And we do try and be as flexible as we can to let as many people vote as possible. But if they're not paid up at the time, then they can't. And the 7th day before is a fair enough time to start working on that, because there's a fair bit of manipulation you have to do even with that document that is provided. Because you, as I said earlier, you do have to work out how many votes each person is entitled to and whether that or not they count towards the quorum. So just as a little exercise here, imagine there's a district with 120 clubs. 9 of the clubs have got 11 members. 6 have got 8 members. I hope you've all got your calculators out here. 3 of them have got 7 members, and the rest of them have got 13 or more members. How many people are there required for the quorum? Would anybody like to, I can't actually see the chat. Maybe I can if I think about it hard enough, but would anybody like to unmute and give us a guesstimate?
70.
78.
70, 78. Okay, which clubs are eligible here?
7-member clubs.
No,
Not the 7, 8 or more members. So the 11 members, the 8, the only ones that aren't eligible are the 3 clubs with 7 members. So it's actually 79, I believe, Colin.
Oh, close enough. I know, sorry.
Anyway.
It's kind of part of it.
But I haven't really given you all of the information yet. But just on that part, it is only the clubs that are active are the ones that are eligible to vote at a district business meeting and also at the international meeting. And that the difference between those is this is a document that is provided by TI, and the bottom half I'll show you now. But really you can see that second column gives you the active ones are the only ones allowed to vote at district meetings, business meetings. And those are the ones with 8 or more members paid at the time. And at least 3 of them have to be renewing members. I'm not sure how you find that detail out, but that is the first part of that part anyway. And now here's another scenario. So with those 120 clubs, if they all had 8+ members, so they're all eligible to vote, but 3 of them didn't have paid up VPEs. What is our quorum here? It's a bit of a grey area, I would say, but I think, again, it's the 79, because those 3 VPEs aren't eligible for the quorum because they're not paid up. And back to that earlier slide we looked at, and I don't think I've got it. Oh, yes, there I have got it up. It's 1/3 of the club presidents and vice presidents of education. It's not 1/3 of twice the number of clubs that you have. It's actually the presidents and vice presidents of education. So if those people aren't there, they're not eligible to vote. That's my opinion anyway. All the proxies, if their proxies are eligible at that time. And if the VPE isn't paid up, he can't have a proxy. So again, similar question now. In this time, there are 4 people who aren't paid, 4 of the eligible people aren't paid up. So that would be just 1 less than the 79. Then it would be 78, because it's every 3 counts for 1 point effectively. So we're more than 3 down, we're 4 down. So only 78 would be your quorum in this instance. So it actually makes it easier with fewer people eligible, as long as there are more people there. If those are the people that would have been there, then I guess it's more difficult. So it's, you lose some, you win some, you lose some. If 5 of the clubs don't have a secretary that's paid, what's the quorum?
Difference.
I'm not too sure, because if you don't, a club has to have a secretary. So I don't think the club is eligible if it doesn't have a secretary.
Yeah.
So that's something that's not mentioned anywhere, but it's another grey area. Every single club has to have a president, a secretary, and at least 1 vice president, who have to be 3 separate people. So even if you have the president and the VPE, is that club eligible? Just a thought.
Mm.
Okay. In the instance that a quorum isn't present, business can still go on, but it has to be ratified later. Now, another point, a point of interest here with the ratification is that that is from the member clubs and not the entire council. So the district executive committee don't count towards the ratification, even though they're eligible for the voting, they don't count towards ratifying the decisions made at a meeting at which they were eligible to vote. So just bear that one in mind as well. So if you don't have a quorum present, it's not necessarily those people that will be voting you through at the end afterwards when it comes to ratification. And we'll go on to voting. Online, if there are no proxies, the executive committee members are entitled to 1 vote, and they can have 2 additional votes if they have 2 roles. If it's an online one, they can't be a proxy, so they have to have 2 roles. Any other member can only have a maximum of 2 votes if they have 2 eligible roles, president of more than 1 club or VPE of more than 1 club, or president or VPE of more than 1 club. They can have a maximum of 2 votes. If it's face-to-face, pretty much the same thing. The proxies come in, so the proxies can have votes as well, but still only a maximum of 2 votes per person. And we get to another grey area coming up shortly. Oh, the officer, as we said earlier, or proxy holder, will hold the proxy of the other and therefore may cast 2 votes, even if they don't hold 2 roles. They do get that second vote for the other person in the club that they're representing. So this is the next grey area. If you have a member who's a president or a VPE of 3 or more clubs, does that person, well, that person can have a maximum of, they're not on the executive committee, sorry, Colin. They're not on the executive committee, but they are the president, say, of 3 clubs. How many votes do they get?
2.
2 votes maximum. Yes. How many quorum points do they get? Or do they, how many times can you count them towards a quorum? That's not actually ever stated, but I believe that they are there representing their clubs. I think as a court, they do count towards a quorum, so increase the number for the quorum. That's my opinion again. I'm really not sure. As you can see, it's grey. That's a grey area. So that is the thing. And then in a face-to-face meeting, if they aren't there, who gets their votes? They've got 3, say it's president of 3 clubs, but their VPE is there in each of the 3 clubs. Now, by default, from what I understand, the VPE gets the vote of the missing members. So they do get the 3 votes in that case. Otherwise, which club doesn't get it, or how do you monitor that? So that's another, just a little thought to consider.
Can I add something, Pam?
Yes, sure. Please do, Colin.
You started off, your heading was credentials.
Yes.
But when we sit at the credential desk and register, we only register people who are eligible to vote. And that number that we get at the credential desk is what establishes your quorum. So this person with 3 presidents or VPE votes, he's not entitled to use them under any circumstances. He can only use 2 of them.
So he's not there, but the 3 VPEs are there, and they all sign in and they say, well, I'm entitled to my president's vote.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes, that's right. Okay, so if the 3 VPEs are there, each of them can carry 2 votes if their president is not there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So effectively, that person is getting 3 votes carried by the proxy holder, or voted by the proxy holder. So that's just another little grey area that I'm not sure that is really covered as to what the ruling should be there. but I really don't know which of those vice presidents, VPEs, you would say you're not entitled to the vote. The other two get it. Which are the two most important ones? They're not nominated as such. Which ones are going to get their votes? So just something to think about. Oh, and then the other thing now for online meetings is that the quorum must be present, and this is for the TI meetings, and I presume the same would be the case for district meetings, is that if a quorum is present, but half of the people drop out, for any voting, at least the majority of the quorum has to be present at the meeting. So whether that really does apply to district or not, I'm not sure, but I would imagine that would be a rule that we could go by. That's we need to know how many people are still voting, and that's really difficult to do because some people have got 2 votes and some people have got 3 votes, and these ones weren't part of the quorum. And usually we just count the quorum and we don't have that available during the council meeting. We do know how many votes each person has. Anyway, so something else to think about as to how many people have to be present at the time of voting at an online meeting. It's much easier in a face-to-face meeting. And I've seen a yellow light, so I was going to possibly go on if there was more time into the district executive committee and their voting. But just one point I'd like to make sure everybody remembers is that the top table has 7 people in it, not just 6. Very often it's considered just to be the first 6, being the district director, the program quality director, the club growth director, the public relations manager, the admin manager, and the finance manager. The logistics manager doesn't get a vote, but who's the other one that does? Anybody?
Immediate past district director.
The immediate past district director is entitled to a vote there. Anyway, hopefully that's given you some food for thought and some things to be aware of, and hopefully you all enjoy your upcoming district council meetings. Thank you, Jan. I will stop sharing there.
Thank you, Pam. I learned some new points there. So I appreciate that, and some grey areas, which I hadn't really thought about before, but I did not know about the list that you can download from District Central with the list of district council members. So that's a handy thing to have for a district parliamentarian. So thank you for being here today and for imparting that knowledge to all of us. Our next speaker is Colin McFarlane. Now, Colin has been a member of Toastmasters for 48 years. I'm not sure if that breaks Gary Wilson's record or not, but that is a long time. Congratulations, Colin, on that membership. He's the winner of district level evaluation, table topics and international speech contests, and the first non-American to compete in the world finals of the World Championship of Public Speaking, I should say. He was a district governor in 1981 to 1982. He has been the district parliamentarian on 5 occasions. So this man has a lot of knowledge on parliamentary procedure, and he is the author of the District 69 Policy and Procedures Handbook. And Colin will now run through a business session for us. Thank you, Colin.
Thank you, Jan. Thank you, Jan. What I'm going to do, what I've been asked to do is go through how District 69 actually runs a district council meeting. And I might take up 10 minutes of my allocated time and then throw it up to questions or suggestions as to how we might improve it or if we're doing anything wrongly. So I actually will be reading from a script which we have provided for all our district directors. So they've got enough to think about without having to worry about whether they're going to do their council meeting correctly. So let's go. And the first thing I would do is thank the person who's introduced me. Then we acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land. And then Toastmasters. I declare the Toastmasters District 69 Council meeting opened at 7 p.m. I call upon the District Administration Officer to read the notice of meeting. Thank you. Tonight, I appoint Billy Jones to be the minute secretary. Finally, or firstly, I should say, let us honour Toastmasters who have passed away since our previous meeting. Then I would welcome the district officers, the senior district officers by name individually. Then I would also acknowledge the past district governors and district directors who are in attendance. Then we'd talk about the quorum and the voting strength. And we just heard a lot about that from Pam. Mr. Parliamentarian, do we have a quorum present? That is, more than 1/3 of the presidents and VPEs of member clubs, Pam called them, I wrote down financial clubs, as required under the district administrative bylaws. District executive members, other than those on the district support team, whilst not included in the quorum, are entitled to 1 vote per district role. Then we explain the procedures that are going to be followed in our council meeting. I request that all discussion be conducted through the chair. We don't want side discussions going across the floor. I will acknowledge each speaker in turn, and all speakers should address the chair. When moving a seconding or motion, please state your name and district role for the benefit of the minute secretary. Only voting delegates may move, second, or vote on matters affecting the district. But of course, all members of a district are entitled to attend. After all, it is their district council. Others may, at my discretion, participate in discussion. Timing shall be 3 minutes for a speech proposing a motion and 2 minutes for all other speeches related to motions. Those voting in favour of a motion are asked to raise their hands and say aye. Those voting against to raise their hands and say no. Next, apologies for non-attendance. Now, this is where we can waste time. Madam Administration Manager, please read the apologies for absence from this meeting. Now, you could get 100 apologies, so we've got to find a time-saving way of doing that. And you could simply say the apologies are listed, they're available for your citing at the credentials desk. Are there any further apologies for absence? Will someone move that the apologies for absence be accepted? A seconder, please. Any discussion? There shouldn't be on an apology motion. All those in favour, those against, the motion is carried. Minutes of the previous meeting. I ask the Administration Manager to move that the minutes of the District Council meeting held by Zoom on Saturday, 31st of July, 2021, as circulated and tabled, be confirmed as a true and correct record. Do I have a seconder? Are there any amendments, additions to the minutes? You will see variations as to whether you should have the amendments before the seconder, but this is the way we do it. Any discussion? All those in favour? Against? Motion carried. Business arising from the minutes. Is there any business arising out of the minutes? Now, sometimes it will be very minor, but sometimes there might be issues that arise that need a lot of discussion. And it may be sensible at that point for the chairman, the district director, to say, is it in order for me to defer that to general business so we can get rid of all these formalities first and then concentrate on the discussion later? But that's up to the chairman at the time to use his discretion. And then the motion on the, there'll only be a motion if, forget that, business arising. Ratification of decisions of the district executive. Motion that the decisions of the district executive be approved or ratified. A mover, seconder, any discussion? All in favour? Against? The motion is carried. Correspondence. A list of inwards and outwards correspondence has been circulated, tabled, and is available for perusal at the credentials desk. Would someone please move that the inwards correspondence be received and the outwards correspondence be endorsed? Seconder, any discussion? All in favour? Against? Motion is carried. Business arising out of correspondence. Similarly with business arising out of the minutes, if there's major items to be discussed, it's up to the chairman to say, let's move that to general business. Reports. All reports have been provided on the district website for at least the last 2 weeks before this meeting. Links to those reports have been sent to all the voting delegates. Hard copies are available at the credentials desk. And then the first report is usually the finance manager. Will the district finance manager please move that the report be received? All in favour, against, carried. Will the district finance manager please move that the report be adopted? All those in favour, against, carried. Mr. Timekeeper, how are we going for time? Jim?
We are at 6 minutes 40.
Oh, this is going to be the shortest council record meeting on record, world record. Here we go. So we've then we go on to the reports of the senior district officers. The 4 senior district officers, and I'm explaining this to the audience, will individually move for adoption of their reports. And then we'll just have the 1 seconder, and that saves a lot of time. Discussion will follow if required. So then I call upon those 4 officers individually to move their reports. Any discussion? All in favour? Against? The motion is carried. The division directors, now in our district, the habit or the custom is for the division directors' reports to include the reports from area directors. So I call for one motion that the reports of the division directors be adopted, rather than have the division directors individually stand up, take a lot of time. There will be 1 seconder. Any discussion? All in favour? Against? Any matters arising out of those reports? The next one we have is the realignment committee, that the report of the realignment committee be adopted. Mover, seconder, any discussion? All in favour? Against? Motion carries. The district support team. We have reports included from the logistics manager, the parliamentarian, the Papua New Guinea ambassador. That's 3, I think. Again, 1 mover, that they be accepted as a block, 1 seconder. So can I have a mover, please? A seconder? All in favour? Against? Carried. The audit committee. A motion, please, that the auditor's report be adopted. A seconder? All those in favour? Against? The motion is carried. The past district governors or directors committee. Motion that the report of the past district governors directors committee be adopted. A mover, please. Seconder. Any discussion? All in favour? Against? Motion carried. Unfinished business from the previous meeting. We have no unfinished business, but that's usually included on the agenda. Motions on notice. I won't go through that because you all understand that process. General business. Are there any other items of general business? And this will depend on, particularly if I've deferred business that arose out of the minutes or the correspondence for later discussion. They will be discussed at this point. And then we normally conclude with the elections of the new officers and a couple of other items, awards that are, we give awards out, sometimes at the annual council meeting, sometimes at the semi-annual. Now we don't have a semi-annual, but we call it the Hall of Fame function. There was used to be a motion on voting on the venue for district conference. We're changing the procedure for that this year. And then finally, a date for the next district council meeting. And finally, a vote of thanks. Thank you, everyone, for your presence and participation. And thank you for making sure that it didn't last more than 15 minutes. Wow, world record. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Colin. You're right. The shortest district council meeting in the history of Toastmasters. I like that. Although I do believe that there has been some in district, I think it was District 70. I think Joan Rinaldi held one that lasted about 45 minutes maybe, or even less. So we have had some short ones and we've had some very long ones as well.
So any questions? Have you got any time left, Jim?
You took 10 minutes and 12 seconds.
Oh, we got 5 minutes. You can ask me questions or make suggestions. Fire away.
Colin, it's Udo. In District 90, the standard motions put forward about the minutes and things like that, we don't actually call for seconders because we consider that, seeing that the reports have actually been submitted, they've been received. So
okay. And that's an interesting one about the two motions about receiving and adopting. Do you or don't you? And you have a lot of useless discussion about that. I think it's particularly important with the finance manager's report.
Yep.
You have the two motions. And can I ask the rest of the audience, do you understand the difference between receiving a report and adopting a report and the reasons? Anyone like that explained?
Why not?
Okay. Receiving the report is simply somebody saying, here's something that we need to discuss or we want to discuss. Okay, if the motion is carried, we go ahead and discuss it. And then you adopt it. Now, if there was something in the report that you didn't like, what are you going to do about it? Do you adopt the report holus bolus? Do you leave out the bits that offended people? I've never found the answer to that, but there's technically the difference. You don't have to adopt the report if you don't like it, but you must receive it to bring it to the notice of the meeting.
Yeah, it's more so the actual, they're considered to be received because of the fact they have been submitted and they're a part and parcel of the council booklet. It's more so actually calling for a motion to receive them. Yeah. We don't actually call for the motion. Okay. We classify them as being received and open to discussion.
So you just have the motion to adopt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Eventually after discussion, yes.
Yep. Okay.
But also with no seconder, is that right?
Don't need to be seconded in this instance. District 90 considers that doesn't need a seconder, but it needs it for the adoption. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Right. And this is the thing in different. Well, I was going to say in different organisations, not correct. In Toastmasters, you make the choice as to how you're going to do it. Obviously, 69 and 90, wasn't it, or 70?
90.
Chosen the different methods, and they're both extremely valid. No one can say you're doing it wrongly. They're both extremely valid. So yes. Pam?
We tend to go straight to adoption. And if anybody was to say that they didn't want it adopted, then you would have to go back and receive it. So rather than receive and then adopt, it's adopt. And if not adopted, you have to receive it. And that's taken as it has to be received regardless.
Okay. Could I ask Pam a question? I've never been able to find the answer to this about why on Zoom you cannot have proxies.
Because
direction.
PR says that. That's in the governing documents. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the reasoning behind it? Does anyone know?
Probably just that it's too hard.
Agree. Very hard.
Colin, we have a question from Alicia.
Oh, sorry, Alicia.
Thank you, Colin. This is a question that I had from when Pam was speaking. I just had never heard, I misunderstood the idea of the quorum. So when it comes to the district council, Pam, you mentioned that the area directors do not count towards the quorum. I thought that this was just a mathematical calculation, that when you're working out the number, you look at all your presidents and VPEs, and then it's 1/3 of those. But then when you look at who's in the room, you do count the area directors towards that minimum number.
Okay. The quorum, as you just stated, is the 1/3 of the eligible presidents and VPEs. And that gives you the legal right to carry out the meeting. But the actual voting strength, we add on the official members of the district executive.
So you need 1/3 of VPEs and presidents voting.
To be present. They need to be present. They don't have to vote, but they have to be present.
Registered, yeah.
Them or their proxies.
No, proxies online, yeah.
In a face-to-face.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Face to face. Yeah. Thanks, Udo.
Right. I thought once we established that number, say that number was 80, there was 18 voting delegates was a quorum. So I had it wrong. Thank you.
Very quickly, Colin, we've had a message from Jenny saying in Robert's rules in the US, the committee members are essentially the seconders. So there's no seconder needed for Robert's rules. That's one difference between Roberts and Renton's.
That's probably why we chose to use Renton's. Sorry.
And also quickly, Shirley has a question as well.
Yes.
Colin, actually, my question is to Pam as well, because she mentioned that clubs in the process of chartering has a vote. I'm not allowed to vote. Okay, so I misunderstood that. So
Yeah,
okay.
no, only clubs with 8 or more members can vote.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted that clarified.
Okay, thank you, everybody. There's the red light. Madam Toastmaster, back to you.
Thank you, Colin. It's interesting and fascinating. I had questions listed as well, which I will find the answers to. I could write to you separately.
We can hang around after the meeting.
We could, yeah, because obviously our districts do things a little bit differently. And it'll be interesting to understand why we have those differences when we're basically following the same rules and regulations. So I don't know why those differences arise. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. As I say, it's parliamentary procedure, business meeting procedure is a fascinating area, I think, in Toastmasters and generally, because the skills that you learn here, what you can learn here in Toastmasters, are skills which you can use outside in your body corporate, in your career, in your school, parents and friends. You'll look like a genius from what you learn in Toastmasters when you apply that outside in the real world. We've now come to a section called general feedback, and we have about 6 minutes for this. And it's just for anybody to open up and discuss what you think of this meeting, what you think of the concept of a club like this, maybe whether you'd like to join a club like this. I would hope so. So I'll just open it up now for questions. Shirley's got a hand up, or have you not put it down from last time? Right, it's down. Okay, any questions? No? Sure, Colin. Okay.
Comment. We've started in a couple of clubs holding a business session at every club meeting. Now that's way out. After a club executive meeting, we'll have a full session, business session, maybe take 15 minutes. But on the other nights of a club meeting, we have a 3-minute business session. And you go through quorum, minutes, correspondence, those 3 items. And that's designed to give every member an opportunity to actually chair a business session. And going back to what you said, Jan, about the Constitution on page 1, says we have to give members this opportunity. And we give them a script so they don't have to think about it, but it gives them that opportunity to stand in front of a meeting, get control, get the feel of how a business session is run and feel what it's like. 3 minutes. And it's worked very well in a couple of clubs.
That sounds good. Sounds ideal. So what in 3 minutes, what do you cover? Is there minutes from the past meeting, correspondence in?
The apologies and a quorum. Just
okay.
those items.
Just that.
Just
okay.
Nothing else.
Okay.
And it's just those official things you always do at the beginning of a meeting. And it's just to give those members an opportunity to chair a business session, even though it's a mini one. Yeah.
That sounds good. A good idea. Shirley.
Yes, thank you, Jen. Through you, I think this is appropriate for Colin. I know that we encourage, when I was district director, I was encouraged not to read from the script because of the disconnect with the audience. Do you encourage your district directors not to read from the script?
Oh, look, as I said earlier, being district director is such a stressful experience and you worry for months about your council meeting. Is it going to work successfully? So why not give them the opportunity, say, look, here's a script. Okay, if you want to use it, by all means. If you don't want to use it, go your own way, but be prepared to get into trouble. I personally recommend the script. I don't know what other people, look, we've got 4 or 5 other people who have been district directors. They might have a different opinion.
No, I don't have a different opinion. I think that it still gave you the ability to ad lib or connect through comments, but the script made sure that everything that you had to cover, you covered, and you did it correctly. And it took an awful lot of pressure off, because you're nervous enough about doing it in the first place if it's not something that you're comfortable with. So I think a script is a great idea. It doesn't mean that you can't make personal contact though through other items on the agenda. Yeah.
Thank you. And Pam has her hand up.
I was just going to say the script also makes it a hell of a lot easier for the district administration manager to follow what's going on.
It does too, because you leave gaps in the script for the administration managers to write down who moved, who seconded. They don't have to write down all the other stuff.
We have a comment from Jenny again saying in her part of the world, their district leaders actually practice at the Parliamentarian Club, so they can get good at their area council meetings or division or district or whatever council meetings they have to run.
Yeah, and that's the point. We've got to get clubs starting to do their parliamentary procedure, so that when members move up to area or division or whatever, they're used to running a meeting. They know how to do it.
That's right. And I noticed a comment from Alicia as well to say that in her club they have a 20-minute business session at every meeting.
Yeah, that's Parramatta.
Well, Leaders by Design has a lengthy business, and so does Talk of the South. We do that. Yeah.
And
It used to be quite common in clubs in my early days. We always had a business session, but then people put up motions that we should just have it once a month or whatever, because they found it boring and all this sort of thing. I think we should have kept to the strength and insisted that we do have even just a small business session to keep those skills tight. Yeah.
Yep.
That's why I think this club's just a great idea.
Yeah. Well, the discussion time's over because I see there's a big red square on the screen so that's the red light to say this part's over, and I will ask Jim to present the timers report at this stage. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Our times today are as follows. Jan did the introduction in 4 minutes and 12 seconds. Our table topics were as follows. Alicia, 1 minute 31. Austin, 1 minute 11. Jan, 1 minute 21. Marley, 1 minute 37. Bill, 1 minute 19. David, 1 minute 57. Shirley, 1 minute 31. Jenny, 3 minutes and 7 seconds. Pam's educational session went for 15 minutes and 25 seconds. Very well done. And Colin had entered the Guinness World Records with the fastest business session on record with 10 minutes and 12 seconds. And his question and answer session was 6 minutes 14. And you have
blew it.
And Dan's session went for 6 minutes and 12 seconds. And I've spoken for about 20 seconds. Back to you, Madam.
Thank you. Thank you, Jim. But don't go too far away because you are now going to talk about the future or further information and where we go from this point. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Where we go to from here is, firstly, as a collective, probably not now, but over the next weeks, we need to firstly decide on a name for the club. What do we want to call ourselves? And secondly, a few details about the club, as in, are we interested in getting memberships to charter the club? Do we want to have a few more demonstration meetings online? how do we want to proceed here? Do we have any feedback from the members? What would you like to see? How this club would go forward?
I think it's a good idea. We had a limited number at the last meeting when it was first on. A little bit of advertising this time allowed us to get 17 people on. I think we can do a little bit more advertising and maybe hold another demo meeting in maybe another 2 weeks. And I'll get a few more flyers out to various different social media things and see how we go there. But if I can get a little bit more support from my District 69 colleagues on the trio, as far as getting it up on their website is concerned, it may help as far as that's concerned. But I've got it on District 90 and District 70. I've got it on all Facebook pages, and I'm also advertising it quite extensively in the clubs in my general area, Northern New South Wales. And I think that we can actually get this club chartered fairly quickly.
Yeah. So you're saying on the 2 weeks will be the 23rd of September?
I'd be happy with that. I don't think we can afford to let it go too much longer in between, because we're starting to get the momentum now, and let's keep the momentum going and see how we go. And if we get a few more people to come along, you never know, we may end up with, over the next 4 to 6 weeks, that we've got enough people to charter a club.
Oh, would everyone be interested in having it? Would there be anyone against having another demonstration meeting in 2 weeks' time?
Colin's got his hand up.
Sounds good.
Yes, Colin?
I'm good.
Jim, at the last meeting, you were discussing about after the club was chartered to only conduct a monthly meeting, not make 2 meetings a month. If we can just have some general discussion around the meeting tonight, how everybody else feels, whether they think 1 meeting per month online is okay, or 2 meetings per month online. If we can just open that to discussion to the meeting tonight. Thanks, Jim.
Okay, Con, the reason why you had 1 a month was just to put something on the form so people get an idea of what could happen. If it's blank, people ask the question, how often will it be? But now, as you said, I will put it to the floor. It's up to what the members, what everybody here wants. If they want it every 2 weeks or every month, it's fine. Well, how would you like to see this club move forward?
I'm happy with either. Whether they want to have once a month or twice a month, I'm happy with both decisions. I'm happy to listen to the majority, what they're happy with.
My suggestion is, well, my preference would be once a month after we're chartered.
Yeah, I'd be happy with that.
Agree.
Can we get a show? Can we get a show of hands? How many people would like to have the meeting once a month?
After charter?
After
Yes,
charter.
after charter, once a month.
Majority.
Majority. So after charter, once a month. Thank you, Jim.
And I think I can use the same Zoom link, hopefully, to move forward to the next meeting. Hopefully, I should be able to.
Well, Jim, if you can just update that flyer, shoot it to me again, and I'll start putting it out again.
Okay, we'll do.
I'll be a little bit more proactive again than I was this time as well.
Is Thursday 6:30 p.m. still good for everyone?
Yep.
Yes.
When is that still before? That should still be before daylight saving for New South Wales.
Yes.
Yes, it will be.
Okay.
Doesn't that just mess with us?
It doesn't bother us in Queensland, but
Oh no, you'll be on the times up there, aren't it?
Well, ultimately it does.
Before we close, can I get a little bit of feedback from Jenny, who is a member of a parliamentarian club? How did you feel today?
Thanks for letting me sit in and learn from your club from the other side of the world. Thanks to Shirley for letting me know about it. I thought this was great. It was a way more structured demo meeting than we did. And also it was very practical. I love the math by Pam for those sticky situations, but making it engaging, as well as the detailed from the, I forgot the other presenter, apologize, Colin, for the script. Definitely very practical, very useful. And that's why amongst the 6 parliamentarian clubs around the world that I've found online, most of them partner with their districts to help them practice for their council meetings. Ours doesn't, to avoid politics. So we have a different approach to ordering. So for example, instead of doing the tabletops first, which is great for maximizing participation, we actually first do our speeches so that we can apply the concepts in the speeches to table topics where we do, we let members who don't have roles chair mock meetings and practice debates on fun topics so that people don't take things too seriously or get emotionally charged when they disagree. And so, for example, our next meeting on October 6th is on National Mad Hatters Day from Alice in Wonderland. So our theme is the Mad Hatter's Tea Party. So imagine a parliamentarian visits Wonderland and advises the Mad Hatter how to chair an orderly meeting where he can decide, do we celebrate with hats or do we celebrate with teacups or something like that? Just so that people get, it makes parliamentary procedure more accessible and fun and not boring, which is the reputation it has, which is why it kind of gets dropped off of most agendas, I think. And I think I made a suggestion for the link. You can either, like I had to type the flyer link to then log in. So you can actually share a PDF with the link so that people can just click it, right? Or you could create an alias like bit.ly. Our meeting link is like bit.ly.vp-zoom. It's just easier to remember and share on a flyer without remembering us.zoom. whatever kind of thing. And then happy to discuss offline if you want. I used to be the District 57 admin manager. So we had that discussion about backfilling votes to making sure, do people carry, how do you on Zoom ensure people carry the votes that they each represent. So we went through that discussion as well. And then other than that, I thought this was a great meeting. You guys are clearly doing things much more orderly than we did in America. We chartered in 1.5 months on the rush because of the incentive to waive the fees. But I love the fact that you guys do things right in Aussie land and you have your own flair. So thanks.
Do we have any final comments before I close the meeting?
Jim?
Yes.
Are you going to keep the line out open after the meeting's closed so we could have a chat or?
Yes. Yes, I'll just, when the meeting's closed, I'll just stop recording.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Okay, I will declare the meeting closed and stop recording.